Conference, I'm proud to stand before you as Labour's Shadow Secretary of State for International Development. And it is something that the grandchild of peasant agriculturalists from deep rural Jamaica is your spokesperson on development. And there is no issue that better illustrates the internationalism that is at the core of progressive politics than our commitment to international development. And in an era that has seen the rise of toxic, xenophobic politics across Europe, it is worth reminding ourselves that an outward-looking internationalism is not an add-on to our socialism, it should be at the heart of our socialism. Labour in government should be proud of its leadership on international development. There have been illustrious names like Judith Hart and Claire Short, and we should never forget the contribution of Gordon Brown, who put development issues at the heart of his government, tripled the aid budget, and works tirelessly on these issues to this day. This summer, we've all seen the horrifying images of migrants and refugees trying to reach safety in Europe. For thousands of desperate people, the Mediterranean has become a graveyard. It was the Labour Party that forced David Cameron to take action, inadequate though it has been, and I would particularly single out my colleague Yvette Cooper for her leadership on the refugee issue, and I look forward to working with her on her refugee task force. But many of those people attempting to cross the Mediterranean or in the camps at Calais are economic migrants fleeing desperate poverty. It is right to face our responsibilities to refugees. But you would expect me, as the child of economic migrants, to say to conference that economic migrants are people too. Barbed wire, armed troops, and letting people drown are not the solution to waves of economic migration. Still less is it the politics of UKIP. And on the question of UKIP, let me say to conference, there are those who would imply that there is some electoral advantage to be gained by moving our policies on migration closer to those of UKIP. I will say only one thing: you cannot out-UKIP UKIP, and we shouldn't even try. Ultimately, the only way to check the flows of economic migration and to offer people real hope is international development, promoting growth and prosperity worldwide. It will also be at the heart of my work as Shadow International Development Secretary, the notion that we need women-centred development policies. Around the world, 62 million girls are not in school. 1 in 3 women will experience gender-based violence in her lifetime. In particular, this includes female genital mutilation. In the developing world, 1 in 7 girls are married before their 15th birthday, some child brides as young as 8. Each year, more than 280,000 women, 99% of them in developing countries, die from pregnancy and childbirth-related complication. Whilst women make up more than 40% of the agricultural labour force, only 3 to 20% are landholders. In Africa, women-owned enterprises make up as little as 10% of all businesses. In South Asia, the number is only 3%. We need to reach those women. The test of the next Labour government's development policies will not just be getting money out of the door, it will not be how many highly paid consultants we employ, it will be how we change the lives of working women in some of the world's poorest countries. We also have to recognise that war and conflict are a primary impediment to development. Nothing has held back development in many parts of the world, including the Middle East, more than ill-fated military intervention. And that is why I will be voting against bombing Syria. Last year, as we heard in the debate, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals were adopted. They set out 17 important goals around which we can develop our aid policies and improve the lives of the poor globally, as well as holding agencies and NGOs to account. Yet the government, David Cameron's government, has yet to say how or even whether they'll report on their work on the Millennium Development Goals, which are about to expire. In the coming months, I and my team, Mike Kane, Ray Collins and Imran Hussain, will be holding Cameron's government to account on development. Cameron has been paying lip service to these issues while covertly diverting the aid budget to non-development purposes. This is a government which is as callous to the poor around the world as they are callous to the poor here in Great Britain. International development for David Cameron has been window dressing, and we are going to tear that curtain down. I am pleased and proud to be your spokesperson on international development. I hope to build on the achievements of Labour in the past. I hope to put forward the notion that international development is not just a matter for the International Development Department alone, but for all ministries in government. And I look forward in 2020 to taking office as your Secretary of State for International Development. Thank you.